Hare Krishna everyone. Hope you had a lovely day. Welcome to Soma Vedic Astrology channel. Today we will discuss about the placement 7th lord in the 6th house. What do you mean by the lord of the house in Vedic astrology? Now each planet has got a responsibility of handling either one or two houses. So this planets become the lord of those houses. Now look at this table to see which planet is the lord of which zodiac sign. So if you see this table, Mars is the lord of two zodiac signs, which is Aries and Scorpio. Venus is the lord of two zodiac signs, Taurus and Libra. So in this way, each of the planet has gotten a department to handle either one or two zodiac signs. Now let us try to understand that with an example. Now for example, if in your chart third lord is in the fourth house, so how you conclude whether third lord is in fourth house? So if you see, this is the first house where 12 is written, this is the second house where 1 is written, and this is the third house where 2 is written. Now what is 2? If we have a look at the table, then 2 is nothing but the Taurus zodiac sign. And who is the lord of Taurus zodiac sign? It is Venus. Okay, so what you will say then, lord of the third house is Venus. Okay, because it is the lord of the Taurus zodiac sign. And but where is Venus placed? Now Venus is placed in the fourth house of the birth chart. So this is how you will conclude that third lord is in the fourth house. So today we will check the placement 7th lord in the 6th house, but before that I have already made detailed videos on what all things can we see from the 7th house as well as from the 6th house. Please go and check that out before proceeding with this video. Also, a small disclaimer. Please note that this is a general prediction depending only on the placement of lords in a specific house. Accurate results will only come after considering the zodiac sign, planets, dignity of the planets, retrogression, combustion, aspects, nakshatra, ascendant, shadbal, conjunction, and your running time period, which is Mahadasha, Antardasha, etc. Now, seventh house is part of the Kama Trikon. The Kama Trikon in any chart deals with physical, sensual, and materialistic pleasures of life, and sixth house is part of the Artha Trikon. The Artha Trikon usually deals with earning wealth, managing wealth, okay, so that you can fulfill your desires in life. So when Kama and Artha Trikon gets linked, your efforts are going into earning and managing wealth to fulfill your materialistic desires in life. Now, seventh lord is going 12 places away and sitting in the sixth house. So, 12 places away always shows, a far away place. So, spouse is coming from a far away distance. Okay, it could be from your same country but from a very far away place, or it could be from some foreign country, or your spouse might have some foreign elements. So, it could be any one of it. Now, seventh lord going 12 places away, 12 places also shows some form of loss or detachment. Okay, so once you get married and experience what marriage actually means, then there is a possibility that you might feel a detachment with this thing called marriage, or you might have some loss of interest in marriage after getting married. Now, seventh house is part of the Kendra houses. House number 1, 4, 7, 10 are Kendra houses, which are the basic pillars in any chart, and it shows yourself, your happiness, your spouse, and your career respectively. Sixth house at the other end is called as the Upachya house. Now, Upachya houses are those houses where things are not great from start. Okay, when you start things might start on a bad note, or not too great, but as and when you grow in that area, as and when you experience both the positive as well as the negative experiences regarding those significations, as and when you gain wisdom from both kind of experiences, is when the things start getting better with time. So when seventh lord is going and sitting in an upachya house, okay, things in your marriage might not be well in the beginning. Efforts will be needed a lot to sustain the marriage, but like as and when you start knowing each other, understand everything about each other, maintain a clear communication is, and experience both the positive and the negative sides of life together, is when, as and when you grow older, things start improving with time. Now seventh house, along with being a kendra house, it is also a maraka house. Now maraka houses are those houses which has the capacity to give pain, like equivalent to death. Okay, so seventh house tasha could be bad, especially when it gets linked to a dusthana house. Sixth house is a dusthana house. It is not so comfortable house, because it dealing with debts, diseases, litigations, accusations, theft, robbery. So these are some unpleasant events in anyone's life which is shown from the sixth house, and hence it is called as a dusthana house, because nobody likes to deal with any of these situations. So when this markesh is coming and sitting in a dusthana house, okay, your spouse might suffer from health issues or accident during this dasha period. Now, seventh lord shows your spouse, and sixth house is a house of your enemies, your competition. Okay, so with this placement, your spouse might have to face with enemies, competition, struggles in his or her work throughout life. Okay, so this is going to be a constant dealing with enemies, battling with enemies. Enemies does not only mean a human form of enemy, but it also means the enemies which is there inside a person. Okay, that negative element of a person which tells the person to go to a specific path, the bad habits that a person has. So collectively your spouse might have to deal with the human form of enemies, enemies in the form of bad habits, and by not going or listening to that negative element of one's own self. Now seventh lord shows one spouse, and sixth house is a house which shows legal battles, court. Sixth house is also 12 places away from the seventh house. So with this placement, there is a possibility of getting married. The event of wedding could be far away from your place of birth, or in some cases it can also lead to court marriage. Now, seventh lord shows your marriage, and sixth house is a house of struggles and obstacles. So, the marriage lord is going and sitting in the house of struggles and obstacles. So, with this placement, you might face certain obstructions, struggles to get married in life. Maybe you will meet various suitors, but nothing will work out in the initial phase. Okay, there will be some kind of a mismatch, misalignment, or compatibility issue. Some situations will arise due to which things might not pan out, but eventually, definitely, with some form of delay, marriage will happen, but depending obviously on the entire chart. But initially there will be hurdles, struggles, will be there uh, to reach that eventual destination of marriage. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of one's maternal uncle, stepmother. So, with this placement, there is also possibility of your potential spouse might come via contacts of one's maternal uncle, aunt, or stepmother. Now, possibility of meeting your spouse at workplace, especially in a job setup, is also high, or in one's routine, like let's say one goes to a specific cafe, then one goes to a gym. So whichever location a person goes into, routine day-to-day basis, there is also possibility of meeting one's potential spouse in those locations. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of struggles and obstacles. So your spouse might go through difficult situations in life, especially after marriage. Okay, and when your spouse is going through difficult situation, you will have to support each other through thick and thin, because the marriage in your chart is, aligned in such a way that you will have to deal with these difficult circumstances and situations together as a team, and not by considering each other as enemies. Okay, because seventh lord is sitting in the house of enemies, so there is also a potential that you might consider your spouse more as an enemy rather than your, spouse. So dealing difficult situations with teamwork would be very key part in sustaining the marriage. Now, seventh lord shows partnerships, and sixth house is also the house of robbery and theft. So after marriage, there is a possibility that you both as a couple might have to deal with at least one event of robbery or theft in life. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of disputes. So, one might have to deal with disputes with either one's own servants or employees in one's business, because seventh lord also shows one's business. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is also the house of giving service to others. Okay, it also shows pet animals. So your spouse might be someone who is fond of pet animals, or he or she is generally very charitable or service oriented in nature, and has a soft corner for the weaker sections of the society, for the pet animals. Now, seventh lord shows partnerships, and sixth house is a house of daily routine. Okay, your daily habits. So, with this placement, you need to involve your spouse in your daily routine, or you guys need to work together. You have to be part of each other's routine every day. That is how you can, this will basically have a positive impact on your marriage. You both also need to help each other to maintain health and well-being, and by not going to the route of bad habits. Okay, all these things will definitely help to improve one's marital life. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of daily routine and discipline. So your spouse might be too service oriented, or too work oriented, or workaholic in nature, which could lead to some disputes, or it might lead to hampering your relationship. So you guys need to talk about it, communicate about it, and try to maintain balance in work and the marital life. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of struggles and obstacles. So your spouse is sitting in the house of struggles and obstacles. So your spouse might come from a very humble background, poor background, with not much financial resources or much financial backup, but he or she will definitely earn well financially from one's own self efforts. Your spouse might be very hardworking in nature, and that workaholic or service oriented attitude comes in your spouse because the spouse didn't have much backup in his or her past, and hence he or she is trying to, you know make things easier by working and earning wealth in life. Now, seventh lord shows one's wedding, and sixth house is a house of loans. Okay, so with this placement, for in some cases, there might also be possibility that one might get into huge loans for that one day event of wedding and for wedding ceremonies. Now, you have to be very cautious in this aspect, that do not take too much loan for a wedding event, because it is going to at the end of the day become burden for you. Be very mindful, in these aspects. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of debts, diseases, litigations. So, your spouse might be part of either some law or service industry related to medicine and doctor, or any form of social work, or any form of work which has a specific routine or repetitive work which your spouse have to do daily. Okay, or any form of analytical jobs is also possible. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of legal disputes. So, seventh lord also shows one's business partnerships. So, with this placement, one might face legal disputes or frequent quarrels in business or in business partnership. So, with this placement, if someone is doing business, there will definitely be legal disputes or quarrels in that business or in the partnership. So one has to see how to deal with all these things. If the business is related to the court lawyers and something which has to deal with the legal things in day to day routine in life, then it will be a good combination with this placement. But if your business is totally unrelated to the this combination, then there will be constant struggle and obstacles in that business. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is also the house of accident. So there is a possibility that your spouse might meet a accident while traveling on road, especially when this dasha period gets activated. Now, seventh lord shows your spouse, and sixth house is a house of loans. So, your spouse might take some loan which might become very difficult to repay later, or some wrong financial investment or wrongly calculated financial decisions which might take a toll on you both as a couple and for your family. So when you are taking financial decisions in life, you have to be very mindful and very careful whether whatever loans that you will be taking, will you be able to repay it or not. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a natural house of the Virgo zodiac sign. So, Virgo zodiac sign gives that complaining, nitpicking attitude to your spouse. Your spouse might be complaining, has that nitpicking attitude in the smallest of thing, could be short tempered and angry in nature, which can lead to fights between you two. Because if a person is constantly nitpicking, that whether this thing has to be done in this way, that way, not how this. So, all these things lead to disputes between the couple. Now, seventh lord shows marriage, and sixth house is a house of fights and disputes. So, lot of fights, disputes, disagreements, and difference of opinions in the marital life will be there. Okay, so you will have to manage and learn how to deal with these situations in life. These kind of events might also lead to mental detachment from each other, but extreme cases might lead to physical separation or divorce. Okay, all cases might not end up into a divorce. Most of the cases you guys will still be together, but some form of mental detachment will be there because of difference of opinions or disagreements. Now, seventh lord shows spouse, and sixth house is a house of health issues. So, your spouse might have some form of health issues. It could be physical or mental health issues, which might lead him or her towards the addictive tendencies, maybe in the alcohol or smoking, some form of addictive tendencies. So, one has to try to support one's spouse during the health issues, and maybe try some therapy or something which will be able to overcome your spouse from these kind of situations. Now, seventh lord sitting in the sixth house is giving its seventh aspect on the 12th house of isolation, spirituality, hospitalization. So with this placement, one spouse might become spiritual in the later part of his or her life. Okay, your spouse would like to live in isolation, he will take that spiritual route. One might also have to deal and manage at least one event of that tough time of hospitalization of spouse, where one will have to do a service to the spouse, where one will have to be in full service to help the spouse in this kind of a situation. I will in future make separate videos with different type of planet as the seventh lord in the sixth house. If you have this placement in your chart, please do mention your experiences in the comments section. I hope you guys must have liked the video. Please do not forget to subscribe the channel. Also, please do let me know in the comment section below what more videos would you like to see. Thank you.